uncovering a terrifying past. Black Africans were used as guinea pigs in horrific experiments. Their unsung experiences illuminated a dark age. What exactly were these experiments? Discover the frightening truths that urge us to remember and learn from history's most heinous errors. The new revelation that black troops were used as human guinea pigs in chemical experiments during World War II sends shockwaves through our conscience, revealing a dark chapter that was purposely kept concealed for decades. This chapter was intentionally kept hidden for decades, yet it was only just brought to light. As we probe deeper into the upsetting circumstances, it becomes excruciatingly obvious that this was not an isolated incident. The admission by the Pentagon that 60,000 American soldiers, in especially African American, Japanese, American, and Puerto Rican soldiers, were exposed to secret chemical weapons testing brings to light the premeditated cruelty that these individuals were forced to undergo. Those individuals who had taken an oath to defend their nation later discovered that they were being held captive in gas chambers, where they were subjected to mustard gas and the corrosive chemical substance lewisite. The severity of these soldiers' suffering was directly proportional to the color of their skin, which means that racism was the driving force behind their ordeal. The words of Rollins Edwards, whose skin still bears the scars of those brutal experiments, reverberate throughout their tales, giving them a disturbing quality. How did racial prejudice lead to the exposure of thousands to mustard gas and corrosive agents? What other dark chapters of medical exploitation have been concealed from public view? As we confront this unsettling truth, we must ask, how can we ensure justice for the victims, acknowledge their suffering, and prevent such horrors from tainting the pursuit of knowledge again? This particular chapter isn't the only thing that was brought to light by the disclosure. It also shed light on a larger pattern of abuse that goes back many generations. The atrocities of the Tuskegee experiment spring to mind. This was a horrible narrative in which African American men were allowed to go untreated for syphilis, and their lives were thrown away in the name of scientific inquiry. The narrative of history is tainted with accounts of misery and exploitation, such as the dehumanization of Sarah Baartman in the 1800s and the terrible gynecological experiments performed on enslaved women. Both of these events took place in the United States. The ominous legacy lingered on, spreading across the ages and permeating a variety of scientific fields. The anecdotes illustrate the extent to which black lives are not valued, from the experiments conducted by the United States Public Health Service (USPHS) on black prisoners who were suffering from pellagra to the plutonium injections that took the life of Ed Cade, the horrific experiments conducted during the Cold War, the administration of experimental vaccines to defenseless youngsters, and the sterilization of female inmates against their will are all examples of the deliberate devaluation of the humanity of people of African descent. These painful first-person tales serve as a poignant reminder that the fight for justice and equality is by no means over. In the example of Henrietta Lacks, whose cells were taken without her permission, ethical problems have been raised that continue to be debated to this day. The startling disregard for the well-being of underserved populations that is demonstrated by the deliberate release of toxic substances into low-income black neighborhoods in the guise of scientific investigation is highlighted here. Even the data that was supposed to protect public health has been corrupted by bigotry, which is a disappointing reality that needs to be addressed. A troubling pattern of deception and incompetence can be inferred from the fact that data suggesting a link between experimental measles vaccines and higher autism rates in black newborns were covered up. For far too long, the calls for justice that came from the black community were met with scorn and denial, and they were called nothing more than conspiracy theories. But the most recent disclosures conclusively confirm that these atrocities took place in the past. These people's mental and physical wounds serve as a clear reminder that the legacy of exploitation continues to cast a shadow on the present day, as their experiences serve as a reminder of the emotional scars they bear. As we look back on this difficult period in our history, it is imperative that we reaffirm our dedication to the ideals of equality and fairness. We have a responsibility to raise the voices of those people who have been marginalized for many years and to make certain that such atrocities are never committed again. We can only hope to right the wrongs of the past and create a future in which every life is respected and safeguarded if we first acknowledge them, then educate ourselves on the subject, and then take collective action. Remembering that empathy, compassion, and solidarity are crucial in healing the wounds of the past and forging a more fair future is essential in the face of this heartbreaking history. Let us not forget this.